Welcome to the show. I'm Michael Buckets,
Molten Cole.
and this is Ball Talk. All right, so we are in the playoffs, fully in it, in the second round. Yeah, the Cavs and the Pacers played game one already, and the Pacers were pretty dominant in that.
Yeah, that
So
one was good.
that was super cool. But for a majority of today, we're going to talk about those round one games, series, how they went, and we're going to look forward and see who might win in the future based on our own opinion. We're also going to be finally rounding out that historical series where we talk about every single team in the league and their history, finishing in the Central, which is our favorite division, which is why we chose it last.
Heck yeah. So,
But
um, what series we going with first? I got one that
yeah,
I know
my
we could try and get out the way first because I know you probably don't want to talk about it at all.
yeah, bro. Honestly, it's like mentally blocking out that part because I know I'll have stuff to say. Yeah, let's get it out of the way. Let's get it out of the way.
All
Actually,
right.
this is perfect. I wrote down every losing team and I put them in three categories. The first category is they lost, but it's okay. And that was the Rockets, the Magic, the Pistons, and the Lakers. The
I agree
Lakers
with
barely
those.
made it in there because they got Luca, because of the Luca
Literally.
trade.
Yeah,
Without the Luca trade, they're in a different conversation. But
completely.
luckily, they got Luca, so that's a future right there, and that's why all
Mhm.
these teams are here. They got a future, and they should be happy about the season that they just had. Maybe not the Lakers, but Luca is whatever. All right, the next category is they lost, and we don't know what that means. Maybe they should be concerned. Maybe they just lost to a better team, and that's going to be the Clippers and the Grizzlies. Both good-looking teams. I don't know what direction they're going to go in, especially the Clippers as they're
Especially
aging.
the Clippers. Yeah.
And that's really the kind of exclamation point there. That's like what's going on in the future.
Right.
But both those teams still, maybe not the Grizzlies as much, but they still had a season to be proud of, you know?
For
So,
sure. Especially the Clippers on that side. I mean, the fact that they went out and ended up being the favorite in that series, going up against like the
yeah.
multiple time MVP, arguably this MVP this year. I don't think so personally, but I mean, he's still got his case. It's him or Shea, no matter what. And like, yeah, like they just came out and they were the favorites and they were nuts this year. So definitely props to them
Yeah.
for going out. But I hear you, those teams, ugh, like, what do you do moving forward? I mean, I think the Grizzlies, they have an easier route than the Clippers do because the Grizzlies, you're at least for sure keeping Ja, right? Like a
I
hundred
hope
per,
so. I would hope so.
you're 100% keeping Ja in my opinion. But I
But, Twitter rumors happen, and that's one
was
of those
gonna say,
guys
I
that's been in the
guess,
Twitter
yeah,
rumors
I hear,
recently.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I say Twitter rumors because I don't always know how much to feed into them.
No,
Um,
yeah, 100%. You never know what's actually real these days and what's
right,
not.
but then occasionally out of nowhere they turn out to be true.
I
So
won't lie, I got sentineled so hard the other day, and I just gotta like expose myself because I think it was the funniest moment. Like I genuinely think it was so funny. First thing in the morning, it was just like when I got sentineled when Sentinel said that D Rose retired that day, and I posted it in the group chat. But I woke up first thing in the morning, still rubbing the crusties out my eyes, and I look, and it's a picture of Paul George on his podcast, and the quote is, "The worst decision the worst decision is Clippers history will be trading away Shea." And I was like putting two and two together that they got traded for each other, and I was like, no way he actually really said that. And then I look up and realize I got sent out, but I just thought it was too funny. I was like, man, no
no,
way.
that is hilarious. That Centel right now is hilarious.
No, yeah, they're on a
They've been
legendary
they've been
run.
hit. They've been hitting hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I especially appreciated the Giannis is still trying to figure out why Kyle Kuzma's on the team.
Like
Which leads me to the next group, the last group, the loss, and you should probably blow it up, which is the Bucks and the Heat. But really the Bucks.
because the Heat kind of already did.
We already knew this about the Heat.
Yeah.
The Bucks, that's got to be the biggest tragedy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly.
they Yeah, that was. I mean, Giannis looked really good. Can't be mad at
No,
Giannis. You
yeah,
never can.
100%.
Um, I saw the top 10 defensive ratings for players in the playoffs, and Pascal Siakam was number 6, but Giannis still was shooting 62% on him, which was the highest field goal percentage of the guys guarded in those top 10 defensive ratings. So I thought it's like you literally got a top 10 defensive guy right now defending him, and he's still going out there and doing it all.
Yeah.
But then not a single other player was on point for the entire series. Gary Trent had a lot of good moments,
Yeah,
but
I think that's what I actually have written down here too, that game 3 I think kind of showed what it would take for the Bucks to really actually go all the way and win a championship, because at that point Dame's already back in and out. Speaking of, prayers up to Dame. I mean, the dude's a warrior for not only coming back from an injury that I don't think anybody expected him to like come back this quickly, and I'm sure it was like mentally really tough for him to like come back and like be. I mean, the all the reports were, oh, medical miracle, like first time we've ever seen anybody come back from a blood
right.
clot this fast. Like I'm sure that's a lot of pressure on somebody, and then to have the pressure to go out and perform in front of thousands of people, and not only perform but like be expected to do really well because he's Damian
Yeah,
Lillard.
like
And
save the team is the
right,
expectation on your
yeah,
shoulders right now.
exactly, like he almost had the whole world on his shoulders there, and then to go out there and have the Achilles tear. I mean, god, prayers out to the guy. I mean, that's just
No,
tough. You
yeah,
never like
that
to see
that was
stuff
the
like
game
that.
I was at too, and I like saw him go down. And it was like, he knew right away. He stopped moving. It is what it is.
Yeah,
And yeah, he had to get walked out, and it was kind of like that's not a good sign. And then of course we end up losing that game pretty bad.
yeah, but
Um,
yeah, I
that game
think,
5 though, that's when Doc Rivers finally made a switch. I don't know if you saw that. I was tweeting about it, but I was like,
yeah, I did
Doc
notice.
Rivers finally made put the people who were playing impactful basketball in the starting lineup, and they did pretty good. I felt like that was a really good game if you forget about the the last part, which
Yeah,
is where that was the biggest choke I've seen the Bucks ever do. Biggest Bucks history choke right there. And yeah, I don't even want to talk about it. If you don't know what happened, go look it up.
yeah, that's tough. But yeah, what I have written down here is just that it kind of showed what it was going to take for the Bucks to actually win a championship, because not only did Giannis have to score 37, but Gary Trent Jr. also had to go out and score 37. They kind of both had to play hero ball because nobody
Right.
else was really doing anything all series, let alone that game. So it took both of them to just absolutely go off and just blow up for them to even get a win against the Pacers team that I'm not saying is weak by any means, because they just went out and beat the Cavs in their game 1 of their second round series and stole home court
No,
advantage.
yeah, I'm totally comfortable turning around and saying this Pacers team is good as fuck. They look really nice.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think about contention.
Yeah, I think this Pacers team really could move to a finals. Like this Pacers team might be the best team out east potentially to beat the Cavs. I mean, they're the way they move down the floor just constantly. Like every single guy is rushing as fast as they can. They
Right.
play that Pacers ball for real. And I don't know,
And yeah,
it's
Tyrese Halliburton as a leader is doing phenomenally right
yeah.
now.
He is
He's
showing
and
who the
he's
hell
got
he is this year.
he's implemented like faith in all of his guys that like, hey, we can do this. If you follow me, we can do this. And he's really, I mean,
It's kind of that
I
Shea Gilgeous like Alexander
for
like kind
real.
of mentality of just like,
No, that's a
let me
perfect
backpack you.
comparison.
Cause like,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
he just sets the vibe and they follow.
yeah, and that really is what matters the most in a championship run is not who your star guy is, not who the rest of the cast is. Not that those things don't matter, but the most important thing is if your star guy can convince everybody else on the team that they're a star too,
For real.
then you go and make miracles happen.
So where's Giannis going next year?
Oh, so where's Giannis
What's
going?
our odds for Giannis being a Buck next year?
here are my odds. And I'm not a bettor, so I'm not going to be able to give you sports odds. But
Yeah.
I would say it's most likely that he ends up on the Nets.
Ooh, the
Um,
Nets, you think?
and I'll say if he moves, because as a Bucks fan, I'm not giving up hope that he's leaving, yeah, or that he's not
I
leaving.
think we
Even
both
though
have different ideas of where I think he would go then.
I mean, I would like him to stay, but if he wants to leave, I would like him to leave. I'm backing Giannis's decision
Oh,
on
yeah,
this
for
one.
sure. I just don't think he'd be in Brooklyn.
Oh, you think he's gonna go to the Nets or the Knicks?
I think he's going to Houston.
See, that's my number three actually. My number two would be the Spurs, and my number three is Houston.
I think the Rockets might be the most enticing team to go to this free agency season, not only from a trade aspect, but from a free agency aspect. I think either KD or Giannis is going to be a Houston Rocket next year. They are adding another high caliber superstar to that team this year because not only were they the second seed, looking absolutely amazing all
Right.
year in the regular season, but in a series that almost nobody picked for them to win. Absolutely no ESPN guy picked them. Everybody was Warriors in this, Warriors in this, Warriors in this. Even us, Warriors in
Yeah.
this. Like what? We didn't think the Rockets were for even Toronto. He's very heavy on Rockets are fakers. You know what I mean? And like we
Right.
had our back and forths on it for sure. But I mean, I will even come here and admit now that it is said and done. I mean, they didn't win their first round series and they were the second seed in a series that you technically should come out and just win. I mean, it's a 2-7
But we
seeding
all
there.
understand the unique circumstances of that too.
Right, 100%.
Um,
And that's what my next point is that they went against arguably the hardest 7th seed in recent history and they took them to 7. They
yeah.
actually played really good against them. Sure, they Jalen Green played like a role player all series and other different things that we'll talk about when we touch on that series fully, but man, they just took that team to 7 and arguably like the Warriors are arguably the hottest team out west besides the Thunder. It's like
No,
Warriors,
the
everybody's
Rockets
thinking it's
looked
Warriors Thunder.
super good the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they all did really good, including Jalen Green when you consider him more of a role player in the series. He had that one game where he went off, but it's easy to say that he didn't do super well just because he didn't show up in a scoring aspect. But that's what the Rockets need. That's what they're missing is a scorer. They need somebody who
Who's
you
just a
can give the
bucket.
ball and they're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Rockets might be very interested in Giannis right now. And I don't think that Giannis would be opposed to going there because they could, I mean,
Man,
quite literally win
imagine
a championship next year,
dude,
that team.
imagine a front court of Sengun and Giannis.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dummy.
especially with the double big coming back.
That's what
That's
I'm
gonna be
saying, dude.
that's gonna be what he's looking for.
Sengun throwing
Um,
lobs up to Giannis. Giannis playing center for power forward Sengun. Ugh. Ugh. It's over for the league.
but the reason I gotta go Nets number one and Spurs number two is because they
Ooh.
have the package. If I'm the Bucks GM, that's who I want to trade with.
Really? You don't want to trade with the Rockets? The Rockets got so much picks, players,
I mean, the
young
Nets have
players.
the Nets
I think
have
they
been
have
building this package though.
I think they have
They,
picks, but I don't really necessarily think they have the players that Houston has.
no, they don't have the players. That's the Nets would have to be picks and we're loaded enough for the future. The Spurs would have to be picks and you're giving us something, but it's nothing to count on.
The Spurs one, I think you got a good argument with because if it's Giannis, man, dude, and I'm the Spurs, I'm doing almost anything. And they're telling me, hey, I want Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan.
No, yeah, that's what I think that's a good one
Bet.
too. That's kind of like the
So
medium. And
yeah,
then
honestly,
Houston
that's
is
a really good
more
one. That one I
player
can't.
heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it is. The Nets are pick heavy, Houston's player heavy, and the Spurs are like the combo.
hmm
So it's really yeah, it's really up to what kind of rebuild you want to do.
And
It
I
like
just
I
think
said,
the
if I'm
pick
the GM,
value
I'm
is
going
kind
for
of
picks.
really
Um,
because I feel like personally, in my opinion, pick value's kind of dropped and tanked over the last couple of years because man, the NBA as of recently has shown you that you have no idea if any of the top 10 guys are going to go crazy, but you know for sure at least like two guys out of the second round are going to be all stars. Like, not 100%, but like the draft is just so unpredictable these days. Like, the top guys aren't for sure to be top guys anymore. I mean, Jalen Green
No, that
looked
those are
like a
valid points.
Jalen Green looked like a role player. Kind of, in my opinion, like a note that I literally have written down for that series is that I think we need to stop looking at Jalen Green as this number two pick. He's supposed to be LaMelo Ball or all these other LeBron James or whatever. He might just be what he is. He can kind of go off here and there, but for the most part, he's kind of a good ball handling, facilitating role player out of the two spot. Like, he's not going to be this superstar, all-star amazing player. He might just be a role player. So, in my
That's not
opinion,
how they're going to
picks,
market him to the Bucks, though.
no, that's why I'm like, I don't know, like picks might be a little less, it might be the players, but I hear you though. I mean, picks still are like
Do you
the
want to know my
ultimate
personal
thing, really.
preference? Like,
Of
if I
course.
had to choose one of 29 teams that the Bucks are excluded from the conversation, Giannis has to leave, and I had to choose,
Oh,
I'd
okay.
pick Chicago.
Come on now.
Bro, three reasons, three reasons. One is like, yeah, I like to root for Chicago as much as I can, you know.
Of course.
If it was Chicago and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, then fuck the Bulls at that point. Um but I'm a friendly guy, so I'm gonna say the Bulls are probably my second team in the East. And that's just kind of I love to ride with the Bulls. Plus, so that's the first thing. The second thing is it's pretty close to Milwaukee, you know?
Because
So
you can
if
still
I
go
want to go
see him.
see
Yeah.
Giannis play, it's the same distance roughly, you know, just 100 miles or so.
Yeah.
And that's pretty decent. And the third reason is because well, no, that was the second and the third reason was it's close to Milwaukee. The third reason was it's on Lake Michigan, like Milwaukee. Just want Giannis to stay on Lake Michigan, really.
You
So
just
I
want
still
Giannis to be
feel
close.
still feel like he's like back in the Midwest and stuff, you know. Definitely don't want him on the Pacers. Pistons I'd be okay with.
Wow, imagine if
Um,
he went to the Pacers. That would be some shit, man.
yeah.
I don't think they'd do
You
that.
know, Giannis's career high, he scored against the Pacers and it was the most points anyone's ever scored against the Pacers.
Dang, that's crazy. Was that
I
the
just
game that
found
they
that
stole the ball?
that was the game that they stole the ball. That's why I'm like, who cares about this G League guy that got 10 points, bro? This is Giannis's career high. You guys are just trying to hide the fact that you just got whomped. All right. All right.
Brought back some old hatred there.
Uh, hey, this has been a really fun rivalry with the Pacers, not
No,
gonna
for real.
lie.
That is the one thing that I think sucks the most out of the potential of the Bucks blowing it up is that like right when this rivalry is really starting to cook up and feel like a really fun thing. I mean, not to say that I think this is a good thing, but like Tyrese Halliburton's dad comes on the court and kind of gets jawy with Giannis and almost makes the rivalry feel like shit, next year they're going to be busting even more, but now it's like
No, yeah.
well, shit, is Giannis even going to be wearing that green anymore? Like, and that's what I think kind of sucks the most is like right when it feels like the rivalry is really getting hot and like we're going to have some just beautiful matchups coming forward, Giannis is probably gone.
It'll still be Giannis versus the Pacers though. Like that's not gonna
Do you
go
think
away.
that's the rivalry is Giannis versus the Pacers, not really the Bucks versus the Pacers?
I it depends, honestly. It depends on how the Pacers view it because I think it very well could be if they keep buying it because Giannis definitely is not going to give up on that, you know.
Yeah.
So every time he plays the Pacers, no matter what team he's on, it's going to be a nightmare for them. And yeah, honestly, I do think it is that way more than the Bucks because you think about the off-court things, the things you just mentioned, the ball thing, the thing with Tyrese Halliburton's dad, anything going on social media. It's been Tyrese Halliburton versus Giannis the whole
Yeah,
time,
it
really.
really has been.
Um, they're just both so loyal to their team that, it's really felt like a Bucks Pacers and I mean it has been also because they're the leaders of those teams, but yeah, they in a sense won the rivalry. If it's ending right now,
Yeah.
that sucks. But we ended the Heat, but that one wasn't as fun as this one. This one was more fun for sure.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
real.
know.
Because weirdly enough, during that whole entire rivalry of y'all versus the Heat, it almost felt like the Heat Like,
They were like our baby brother.
yeah.
Like it was really just because we saw each other every year. It wasn't anything like button heads like it was with the
Yeah, they
Pacers, you
weren't
know?
like, yeah, it wasn't like a real rivalry. They just like had history, was more or
Right.
less it.
And you know how the rivalry actually started is because of the in-season tournament. The first time they did it, we also played them 4 times that month, plus our in-season tournament game. So we played them 5 times in like 6 weeks to start that season off, and then saw them in the postseason, and then saw them this postseason again.
Yeah.
So it's boomerang, but that's enough Bucks talks because they are the worst team in the playoffs this year. So
Yeah.
we do not need to spend any more playoff talk on them.
But we did talk a lot about the Rockets, so
Yeah,
I
I was
think
gonna
we could
say let's jump
transition
right over
over.
there
Yeah, that was a really good series in my opinion. I mean,
for sure.
all the way to seven. I mean, not exactly as close of games as you might hope in like a series like the Knicks
The Warriors have always been like
Pistons,
that
but
though, you
yeah.
know? It's like stomp one night, lose by like 10 the next night,
Yeah.
come back and stomp again. Like rarely do they have close games, I feel like,
Not for
in
real.
my playoff memory. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked the Rockets in this. And like I was saying to you before, I obviously the Warriors are my West team, so I've been pulling for them the whole time. And at no point am I going to say that I was like, oh, I'm rooting for the Rockets now. But they were really starting to get to me. I was really
Mm-hmm.
starting to enjoy the Rockets and think about what it would be like if they made it to the next round. Um, but Warriors had to get it. That's Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler right there. And I'm gonna put Draymond Green in the mix. He's been a playoff riser like crazy.
Every
That's a
single
big
time,
three.
yeah.
That's a big three right there. That defensive player list thing I was talking about, he was number three. Um, so go him.
Yeah, for real.
Anyways, but that's it. After that, after those three guys, it's hit or miss and usually miss with the rest of the team.
Yeah, B Pods will have a good night and then he'll be terrible the next night.
And yeah, it's crazy because their roster is almost not performing well enough to the full extent where I want to say that they're not a contender. But it's Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. So
You can't
they
count them
still
out.
very right. You definitely can't count them out.
Yeah.
It's still very up in the air. But yeah, the Rockets are one of those teams. They got a future to look forward to. We're talking about filling that spot with somebody. I th I kind of hope KD ends up on the Rockets.
Yeah,
He,
that's why I was saying I
I
think
know
it's
he's
either
gonna end up
Giannis or KD.
somewhere.
I think it's one of those two. Like I think the Rockets are making a splash this offseason.
You know what I also heard was Devin Booker, which I think Devin Booker is gonna be a Sun for life, in
Yeah,
my
it feels
personal
that way.
opinion. But that's what I heard, you know.
That'd be
So
crazy. I don't even know what to say about that.
yeah.
But game seven, I have written down just a couple things because that one I thought was just a really fun game seven to watch. Buddy Heald was just going crazy in that first
Yeah.
half. I don't know if you were watching that, but yeah, he was going nuts. Was just draining a bunch of threes like crazy, and then didn't really score, or didn't I shouldn't say didn't really didn't score at all in the third quarter, all the way until like midway through the fourth quarter, and then finally started picking it back up and started draining some shots again.
Honestly, I see that a lot with a lot of guys. They'll like go off in the first half and they'll set it up, and you're like, dang, they're on pace to score this much, and then there's quiet
Yeah, super
until the
quiet.
end of the game.
Yep. Um,
So maybe that's just a good strat for the best player on your team to be using, I guess. I don't
mhm.
know.
And
But
another thing that I noticed from this game was Curry almost had a triple double with 2 steals and 2 blocks. And honestly, that's a lot more normal for Curry these days, is to like almost have a triple double and have like a quiet like 25 points and like really just be like facilitating the whole team and leading the team, but only really scoring in like bursts when they really really need it. And I think he's really become like the perfect like mix of leader and veteran for this team that, I mean, it feels like they could really take a push into the finals and whatnot. I also have written down that Amen Thompson, or yeah, Amen Thompson looked like he was just absolutely in charge at times. Like he looked like he could be the guy that just takes off next year, and they don't need to go out and get a crazy guy because he was going nuts and taking control of the whole entire offense, taking every single shot and making most of the shots for most times. And that was really crazy. And yeah, like I said, I have written down here that Jalen Green really just, I think he's a role player these days. I mean, I don't know. He, in a game 7, he took 8 shots. Dylan Brooks took 9.
Yeah, I mean, I've never thought about it that way. I've always been kind of like Jalen Green's one step away, you know? But
Which it always
to
feels
hear you
like,
say
but
that and like think about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of, for a top draft pick to not be an all-star.
yeah.
But
And I'm not saying that by any
I
means he's
mean,
a bad role player, a bad player whatsoever.
no,
He's a
no.
really good role player and does his shit well. It's just, I don't think he's ever going to be some crazy all star that is going to lead his team to the finals or anything like that. And that's why I think people need to stop being like, Jalen Green, take more shots. Jalen Green, you got to do this. Like, he's just not that. And I think that's kind of been
Right.
proven at this point in the NBA. He's been in the NBA for a good couple of years now, and it hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it still can't. He's still a young guy, but I just think we need to stop screaming in his face, Jalen Green, take that next step and just let him play ball.
I would agree. So kind of dipping back to the East, I don't think we really need to talk about the Cavs Heat. I think we already said enough saying like everyone kind of knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, there was really
The Heat
nothing
are
to say about
entering a
that.
rebuild that they started in the middle of this season. So nobody expected them to make the playoffs, or not like anybody expected them to miss. Nobody cared whether they made it or not. Nobody cared what was going on at the Heat because we know they're rebuilding
I feel
and
like
the
nobody
Cavs are
cared who the eighth seed was in general out east because there's such a difference
right.
between the one and the eighth seed out east that it was like whether it was the Bulls or the Heat, who gave a shit?
Yeah, because the flip side of it is the Cavs are the number one seed and they're the best team in the East. So that's no question,
Which is
you know.
honestly kind of proven on both sides of the table with both one seeds kind of doing what a one seed should do to an eighth seed and just absolutely sweeping.
Right,
We could
exactly.
transition over to that and talk about how the Thunder just also looked absolutely unstoppable that first round and just made the Grizzlies their babies.
Yeah, it is so weird to think about the play-in because it is almost necessary in the West just because of how many teams there are. I mean, there are teams that didn't make the play-in this year that are really good basketball teams.
Yeah.
Better than the Heat,
Yeah, I was
better
gonna
than
say
the
you put them out
Bucks.
east, then yeah, they're probably a playoff team. Yeah,
They're probably definitely in the second round right now, even.
right. Depending on the
Um,
matchup, for sure.
right. And yeah, so that's why it's tough. It's almost like just do the 16 seed thing. But anyways, so that's how that went. Should we move back to the West and do the Wolves? Or I know we're jumping around. For some reason, it makes sense for me because we're jumping diagonally.
No, yeah, I like jumping around. Anyways, um, yeah, let's talk Wolves Lakers. First thing I got written down: Lakers got, and then in all caps and underlined, a lot to figure out this offseason.
Really?
Yeah. What do you mean,
Dang.
really? They
I
got
feel
some
like it's still
holes.
yeah, yeah, I feel like that. I feel like you feel the holes. I don't know. I feel like here's what the Lakers need to do,
And
and
that's
we
why
all
I
know
think there's a
this. They
lot
gotta
to figure out because they got some big pieces there that are also pretty vital to that team that are taking up a lot of contract space.
all right, that's the next thing I was gonna say is depending on who you move. But you start moving people around. I haven't looked at the Lakers' salary, so I'm not gonna start thinking about who they could be moving around right now. But you start moving people around, then yeah, that's gonna be a lot of work because you're trying to do two things. It's almost like when the Warriors tried to do the two timeline thing. You're trying to win LeBron James a championship immediately
Mm-hmm.
because that's always his goal every year. Um, you're also trying to focus on Luca's future. So that's another thing. And that's like that two timeline thing that doesn't always work. So they're gonna have to work that out.
And that's why
Um,
I'm like, they got a lot to figure out. I mean, and clearly they have a problem at the big man position. They were lacking in size tremendously. They were abused by Rudy Gobert the whole entire season. I mean, the last game of the series, He had what 20? What did I have written down here?
No, yeah,
27 points and 24 rebounds. Wilt numbers. Rudy
it
Gobert
often
put up
felt
wilt
like there was
numbers.
only four people playing for the Lakers.
Yeah,
Like legitly. Like, and I never really put words to that, but there were times when that hole was so big that it really felt like there was only four people out there and there just wasn't enough guys to get to that hole.
yeah,
And I'm talking about a literal hole in space where there wasn't a person standing,
yeah.
not just a hole in your roster.
Right.
And yeah, so that's tough.
I think we definitely got to give credit to Julius Randle for playing amazingly this whole entire series after, all of the talks of him getting traded over and then him not really
Yeah.
having the best mesh at the start of the season and whatnot, and now starting to figure it out towards the later end of the series or season and having just an amazing series, honestly.
Yeah, there was a lot of doubt over the Timberwolves, especially surrounding Julius Randle. So to see him be able to fill his role, like you said, and for the rest of the roster to be able to still have that confidence and come back like this is that Timberwolves playoff team from last year. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember them. I saw
Mm-hmm.
them last year. There's just no cat. Um, but yeah, so they ate up LeBron to add to Anthony Edwards' eat up people list. Um, and he's got Curry on the plate, so it's looking good.
Yeah, and the Wolves are my West Side's Pacers. I think they're the best team to beat the one seed out west. I know a lot of
I could
people might think
see
that's
that.
the Warriors, but I think the Warriors having their 7 game series against a team that almost nobody believed in, I think they kind of had a lot of holes that were shown this offseason already, and they're going to be tested really hard. I think the Wolves might be the best team out west to actually come out and beat this Thunder team. They got the size, they got the flexibility of it could be anybody's night, but they also have the guy in Ant that just comes out and balls, which I guess same could be said for the Nuggets, who they're going to be going up against tonight. They have a guy, it could be anybody's night, Aaron Gordon, anybody, you know, so. But
Yeah, but no, I agree with you on the Wolves front. I mean, the Wolves really are the team that I think have the best chance against OKC. Because when I think about that potential matchup, I have more faith in the Wolves than I do the Nuggets right now, you know?
yeah,
I spoiler alert, I don't think the Nuggets are gonna win this series. Um, I think it's probably gonna be 5 or 6, honestly. I don't think there's a chance that it goes to 7.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't think they looked that
there's technically
amazing.
a chance because there's a chance anything can happen ever, but we don't have to go down that road.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be 5 or 6. And yeah, I mean they just went to 7 with the Clippers, you know?
yeah. And the
Which I
Clippers
feel
honestly
like
didn't play amazing ball.
right, like you saw Kawhi raise the bar a little bit, but
That
and you
one
saw
game,
Harden
yeah.
have oh right, and you saw Harden have good games, but then when it comes time to game 7, neither of them were really there. Um and
I
so that's
mean,
why
I don't know. I think Kawhi played honestly great this whole entire series. That's literally what I have written down is Kawhi played great this whole entire series, and people are overlooking the actual stats. That man scored like 25 almost every single game. He was like the
yeah, I'm
most
not even
consistent guy that
looking at the
whole
stats on
entire
that one,
series.
but
Like I hear you,
I definitely agree with you. I'm just saying
he's
like
like
it
the guy
wasn't
that you
there.
expect to pick them all up. I hear you.
Yeah, it's like he didn't deliver his team the next round is what I'm saying. But I'm
Hmm.
not trying to take away with that. That's why I led with like you see Kawhi leading the team. I expected Harden to, but then Harden like started good and progressively got worse the entire series.
Yeah, for real. Like come
Um,
game 3 or 4, it was like, eh.
and yeah, that was just that's kind of what the question mark is on the Clippers. It's like this may have been your last shot, and maybe you just spent your gas tank out in those last 20 games of the season or whatever when you
Hmm.
were going off to make sure that you were out of the play-in. But
I also think the ball was in Derek Jones Jr.'s hand way too much that game 7. I was looking at the actual stats. He ended the game with the second most usage rating at 31.7 behind Kobe Brown at 36.8.
dang.
They didn't even have like their top 2 guys have like the highest usage rating. Kawhi was third with I believe like a 26% usage rating. And Harden, I mean, we know how Harden looked that game seven. It was just tough out there. He only
Bro,
had
Harden
seven
got
points,
handled
and
by Christian Brown,
it was
man.
tough.
Just handled.
I don't think it's going to do any good for his like playoff performance argument, but that's not what this pod is
No.
about. So,
We can acknowledge it though.
oh yeah, we're
We can
definitely going to sit
acknowledge
here and
it.
acknowledge it. That's why we called it. But
You know, I'd love to be celebrating James Harden right now.
for real,
But
I thought it was really cool. Also, Game Five, seeing playoff Murray just be a thing again. Him going off for a super efficient 43 points, shooting 65% from the field and 57% from
yeah, he's
three.
got so many 40-point playoff games at this point that it's almost like don't look at his stats in the regular season. Just like feel however you want about him. Just don't look at his stats. Wait till the playoffs, then
Just
look at his
wait.
stats,
Yep,
and that's how you can define Jamal Murray.
for real.
Because the playoffs is where you win championships, and if he's going to go out there and score 40 points against OKC, that's going to matter a lot. If they take
Oh
down
yeah.
that team, they're all of a sudden the number one team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Type shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then one last thing that I just wanted to touch on before you say anything finalized with that or we move on or whatever. I think Westbrook and Aaron Gordon are two role players that literally any team should try and grab at. Not those guys specifically because I think they just work in their system, but just those like mentality of guys and just like the way they perform. Like Aaron Gordon, if you look at the box score of every single game, he has a quiet like 22 every single game. And you wouldn't really notice it because he's not going out there scoring
right,
every single bucket or having 5 buckets in a row. But he's worked in the offense almost every single play, and he is doing something almost every single play because he is super vital. And then Westbrook, I mean, we all know what Westbrook's doing for the Nuggets. He's the hustle, like you look up the word hustle in the dictionary and Westbrook's face is literally just plastered there. There's not even words, it's just Westbrook's face.
yeah, I do love how like whatever the narrative is with Westbrook, he's always out there giving it his all, anyways.
Yeah, you know.
But kind of get a reverse, play devil's advocate a little bit. No disrespect to any of these Nuggets players that we've just been giving our respect to, like Westbrook or Aaron Gordon or Christian Brown, but or Jamal Murray. But maybe they wouldn't be looking that good if they didn't have Nikola Jokic on their team, passing them the ball, setting
Yeah,
them up
you're
really
right. You're
nice.
right. They definitely do
Like I
have the
want to give
best
them their
facilitator
credit. I'm
in the
not trying to take
game.
away from anything, but I'm also trying to acknowledge that Jokic makes a team that shouldn't be that good look really good.
So good, yeah.
Um,
No
I
doubt.
and yeah, it's that leader leading them, giving them
Mm-hmm.
that mentality type shit I was talking about earlier, where he's just telling his team not only by like physically giving them the ball in opportune scenarios, but also just by like being like, "Hey man, I'm Jokic." And he does it in a unique way, of course, but you want to get to the Celtics Knicks series?
You mean the Pistons next series?
Oh, yeah. I was kind of talking about both of them at the same time, I guess. We didn't talk about that. We've talked about six other teams so far. So Celtics and Knicks being the winners the next series. But yeah, we talked about the Pistons with Knicks first.
For
That's
me,
another
that's
one
the
of those
best series
series.
so far.
Yeah, that was a good ass series right
Literally
there,
every
man.
single game ended with within 10 points.
Hmm.
Every single game.
And I'll say it, man, the Pistons were fighting the refs just as much as they were fighting the Knicks.
Yeah.
Man, that was shitty. Yeah, I'm more worked up about this series than the Bucks series, honestly,
Really?
because I really feel like the Pistons should be playing against the Celtics right now. I felt like they played really good basketball. I'm not
It
trying to
was
say the
anybody's
Knicks,
series, really.
it really was. And yeah, I was pulling for the Pistons, so maybe I'm just a little butthurt, but yeah, not to say the Knicks did bad either. You saw big playoff performance from Jalen Brunson.
Oh my gosh, yeah, night
And
after
that's
night.
right. So that's just something that like I can't even
Excuse me.
argue that the Knicks shouldn't be where they are when they did go out there and win the series. And you see the stats and you look at the way they played the game. This was a really physical series, which I really liked. In fact, all these young teams have played really physical basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking that and looking forward to the future
Yeah.
of the NBA with all these young teams being like, I'll push you over, man.
Yeah.
Um, you know, not to say that I'm like thrilled about any of the injuries that happen because
Yeah.
there's definitely a learning curve getting back into physicality about what can actually be really bad for somebody and what's just shoving somebody around.
That's a good
Um,
point to be made.
there has been some like pretty bad things that have happened. So I'm not trying to like be like that was awesome to watch.
Right,
That's
yeah.
that's not what I'm
Yeah, we're
saying.
not hyped about not basketball plays. You got to be controlled with your
Right.
physicality for sure.
Um, but I still love to see it coming back. Even if it hasn't always been in the right moments. And yeah, the Pistons have played that. The Magic were doing that too, kind of jumping over to that Celtics series. The Magic were a really physical team, and I really enjoyed watching them play. Man, I'm really sad that the Magic and the Pistons. I like those teams,
Nah,
man.
for real. They're such fun young teams.
I like these new young teams a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, breaking news from Sham, Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson just won Coach of the Year.
oh, nice. I knew that was dropping tonight
Yeah.
too. Um, yeah, I mean, we knew that was coming.
Yeah. I mean,
The awards,
I was kind of thinking, was it Bickerstaff over in Detroit?
yeah, yeah, he was my number two. I was just thinking about all the candidates, and I was like, man, awards were kind of really easy to pick this year. I don't know. Kind of felt like the general consensus was the same for everybody.
Yeah, it was pretty easy this year,
Yeah, and Cade didn't win Most Improved Player of the Year,
which
which,
I love.
yeah, no hate for Cade. I mean, but go win an MVP, man. That's your award.
That's your award you need to be looking for
Um,
nowadays. Yeah.
and like, yeah, I'm really happy that somebody who might not have a chance to win an MVP or a Rookie of the Year or something like that got a chance to go win an award to appreciate their effort and the good basketball they played, all-star basketball, maybe, you know?
Yep.
Um, all right. So I think that kind of sums up the first round. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't talk about the Celtics Magic, but that's similar to the Cavs. We talked about how we like the Magic and
Oh,
they won a
okay.
game,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's also like
It's
at the
really
end
the
of the
same
day,
stuff. Yeah.
we, you know, nobody on their $1 million bracket put the Magic over the Celtics.
Nope.
Um,
Unless you're living in Orlando.
yeah. So kind of looking at those next ones now. Any predictions in round two?
I think the Pacers are beating the Cavs.
See, that's the
I
advantage we're
know
at
it's.
because we already saw game one.
I was like, I know it's an overreaction from game one too, but I don't know,
But no,
man.
yeah, it is really tough to say the Cavs as easily as I would have before that game.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only did the Pacers win, they came out real dominant. Darius Garland wasn't in that game. So that is
Yeah, and
just
actually,
something
I
to
have
know.
something written down about that too. Um, Jared Greenberg, who I'm not sure exactly how trusted of a source he is and whatnot, but he was talking like on the TV at the game, like he was on the TV while we were watching. So I would assume he's got some sort of connections and whatnot if he's trusted enough to actually be on the TV and speak and stuff like this. But he said the team said to him that they had serious concerns about Darius Garland. If it was the regular season, he'd be sat for like 1 to 2 weeks because of the toe contusion that he has, and that it's
Dang.
been really hard for him to actually put weight on the foot and be able to like explosively move. And that's really tough for him considering he's a small, shifty, explosive guard. So that's like
Right.
his whole game. He can't just go out there and just be a, sitting duck. So definitely really tough. This might just be something that they kind of have to deal with throughout this
Yeah,
series,
I mean,
and
and that's gonna be a game changer, you know.
huge.
But potentially the reason that the Pacers do win this series.
That's
Not to say
kind of
that
what
they're
I
not
was
capable
thinking. Yeah,
of beating the Cavs with a Darius Garland, but you
it's
know,
what happens every year. I mean, that's What
Yeah.
happens? People can say what they want. Oh, you only won because you played this injured version of this team, and then you had to play this injured. But it happens every year. These guys
Yeah,
just
there's
played
always injuries.
right. These guys just played 82 games of a regular season, had the preseason, whatever off-season work they did, and now they're coming into extra games after the season, and they're expected to still come out and play at a high level. Yes, there's going to be injuries and there's going to be teams that are injured and they just have to deal with it just like they did every single game throughout the regular season whenever people were injured. I mean, there's not really excuses for that anymore. So, I at least in my mind, so that's why I'm like I don't know, that's just this is what the Cavs are. They are without Darius Garland and as of right now, I think the Pacers are going to beat the Cavs.
Bro. Pacers, um, spoiler alert, I'm taking the Celtics over the Knicks. Pacers Celtics in the conference finals 2 years in a row would be crazy.
That would be nuts.
Um, but yeah, I'm still up in the air too on this.
You said the conference finals?
Yeah, because if the Celtics beat the Knicks and the Pacers beat the Cavs, then they play in the conference finals.
Oh, you said I thought you said Pacers Knicks in the conference finals.
No, 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 Pacers Celtics, because that's what it was
Oh,
last year. So
I
it'd be
see.
two
I thought
years
you
in a
said
row.
Pacers Knicks, so that's why I was like, huh?
I did see your face. I was like, no way, he's got Knicks.
no,
But I see.
no, no.
Um, but Cavs Pacers, I got to make a call. I'm struggling. Um, and it largely has to do with my Bucks fandom. Because I love this
Take
Pacers
that out the
team. I'm not
way.
even gonna lie to you. Like,
I'm telling you, man.
especially Tyrese Halliburton being from Wisconsin. Not being a Bucks fan. I think it's so raw that Tyrese Halliburton just went into Milwaukee, his favorite team growing up, and just like stomped them. 2 years in a row.
And
Like
made them
Tyrese
his
Halliburton,
rival.
oh, like they've been calling him the mayor of Milwaukee. Like that. As a basketball fan, that's raw as fuck.
Yeah,
As a Bucks fan though, it's like I don't even want to talk
it's
about Tyrese
tough.
Halliburton.
Yeah.
That's like I don't even want to talk about Tyrese Halliburton. So it's but I can get past that and say that yeah, I'm kind of pulling Pacers as my favorites to come out of the East even, which is a little far, but that's my if I had to choose. I don't think they're gonna make it past the Celtics though. Um, if they make it, I don't think that's the. Oh, I was talking about this at work today. The Pacers, say a hypothetical scenario, they only have a 4% chance of winning the championship right now, by the way. So they barely entered the contention
That's
conversation.
kind of
I'm not
crazy.
I'm not trying to sound crazy, like I'm like think the Pacers are that team, but I am overblowing what it would be like if the Pacers won. So hear me out real quick. If the Pacers won the championship, they would have to beat the Cavs. They would have to beat the Celtics. And let's assume that they would have to beat the Thunder. We're already assuming they have to beat the Celtics. That would be crazy.
Yeah,
That would be so crazy.
that would be one of the
Um,
harder finals runs of all time.
of all time. And that's why it's really hard to say the Pacers are going to make it all the way, but it's not that hard to say they're going to be one of those teams, which I think they
Yeah.
deserve a nod for that, you
hmm
know? They're clearly good enough to be a good team. And they haven't proven anything by beating the Bucks.
Yeah, not really. Considering the Bucks situation.
Right. Beating the Cavs would prove something though, and I think that Tyrese Halliburton is a playoff riser
For sure.
for sure. Um, we talked our shit during the regular season when he wasn't as good as he was last year, but now we see he's just a guy that's a playoff riser, and maybe we should have assumed that in the first place.
Yeah.
Uh,
You don't
but
care about the regular season like that.
and yeah, we're gonna talk more about the Pacers and the Cavs later, but the Pacers in our historical series are one of those teams where when we talk about an all-time player, there's an obvious answer and then an asterisk on the guy right now. If
Sure.
he does it, if he goes out there and does something, he probably will. We say that every division, there's one team in that scenario
Yeah.
where it's like, and to look ahead with the Pacers, it's really easy to say Reggie Miller's their guy,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
easy.
Um, and that was the 1990s, and we know what happened in the 1990s. So it's really easy to say that they might have won a championship if Jordan's Bulls weren't a thing, like you can say with so many other teams.
But if Tyrese wins one,
If Tyrese wins one,
they take
it's
it.
all of a
He takes
sudden
it.
like that's their finals MVP right there,
Yep.
you know? And so, yeah, that's that. But Celtics Knicks, we didn't really touch on that. We both said Celtics. Um,
I'm gonna say it's in six though.
yeah, that I actually struggled to pick right here because
Yeah,
I
it's
think the
definitely a
Knicks are
six or
capable of
seven.
winning this series.
No doubt.
The Knicks are a good team. We've showed them love on the pod all season long through their ups and downs.
Yep.
I think this is a contending team, and it's going to be tough because same as the Pacers, they're going to have to beat the Celtics and then probably the Cavs if
Mm.
we're assuming that the higher seed is going to win in every scenario. That's hypothetical. That's just so tough, you know? That's just looking at the Knicks and the Pacers right now, they're like the most obvious teams that are going to be out of the playoffs. And that's before game one. Then game one happened. Now
Hmm.
we see what the Pacers are, and we think
Yeah.
Pacers are in. We're in an awkward situation right now with the podcast because game one happened in one series only. Other game ones happen tonight. We don't know what's going to happen in them. So if you're watching this tomorrow on Tuesday when it drops,
I mean, I got a good idea what's gonna happen in one of them. Shea finna show why he's really getting that MVP tonight.
I don't know, man. I sometimes feel like coming off of a game seven, I know you're tired, but it's almost gives you like that fuel, you know?
No.
I mean, the Thunder have been resting. They've been tired, you know? They're taking naps.
So they're rested.
All right, they're not tired. They were tired. Now they're all napped up. They're getting back in. They're real rested. And yeah, that's the obvious is that they're the better rested team, and the Nuggets don't have that advantage because they went to game seven,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately for them. But the way I'm choosing to look at it is that maybe they'll get that game seven mojo and go out there and steal one in OKC to start the series.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe.
Might happen.
I don't know. 15 minutes and the game. Oh, no, the Celtics Knicks game starts in
Yeah, I was
15
gonna
minutes.
say that one's a late night.
Couple hours and we'll know, you know. By the time you're watching this pod or listening to it in your car, you'll know.
You'll know that Shea
And then
is
yeah,
the
the other one was the
rightful MVP.
Celtics Knicks. But all right, moving to the West to make our predictions over there. I'm saying Wolves OKC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going Wolves in seven though.
Okay. I could
Just
see
because
that.
that Warriors team is too good. I can't not give respect to that Warriors team and not think that Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry and Draymond Green, like we said, as a crazy, unstoppable playoff rising trio, they're not gonna back down without a fight. So if the
No, yeah. I
Timberwolves do
mean,
win it, it's gonna be in seven, and that's honestly just me saying it's a flip of a coin. Like it really could be them or the Warriors out of this one.
and it's also like Steph Curry is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Um, he he's unstoppable. So if he wants to score threes, he's gonna hit a lot of them. You know, whether you're defending him or he's not making all of his shots or you're playing good defense, he's still gonna get important shots off because
Yep.
that's what he always does. And it doesn't really matter what the rest of the team looks like. But the Timberwolves are a full team. Rudy Gobert is about to give Draymond Green the business.
Hard
Um,
business, yeah. Because if there's
and
one thing
that's
that's happened, it's Draymond's kind of fallen off in the last couple of years, and Rudy Gobert's just kind of stayed consistently the same.
yeah. So that's going to be a really important matchup in this series, as well as there's what are you, I mean, I don't know if you have Jimmy guard and I don't really know what you do with Ant. Um, but I see Ant scoring a lot of points against the
Yeah, I
Warriors.
guess Jimmy's probably your best option, huh?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think to stop him on that Warriors team. Um, besides quite literally Draymond Green, but he's preoccupied with not only Rudy Gobert but also
Plus, he's not
Julius
going to keep
Randle.
up with Ant. He's not
Plus,
quick enough.
Jimmy's got to take care of Julius Randle.
Nah, I
So,
think that's the Draymond assignment.
all right, I agree with you. I'm just trying to think it through, and I don't see Anthony Edwards being guarded very heavy at all in this series. As heavy as you would guard the best player on a team in a playoff series, but
But I think that's honestly the strategy to try and beat them. I think you let Anthony Edwards score as many points as possible. You stop all the other guys. You throw Curry on Anthony Edwards and you let all your best defenders play against everybody else. You let Curry get cooked all game because that's going to hype Curry up to go drop more crazy buckets on the
yeah, I
opposite
was
end.
gonna say I think Curry would outdo Anthony Edwards at that point, which is your point. So I guess I agree with you.
Because I just
I don't know,
they're too
man.
like you said they're too well rounded of a team. That's why we are picking the Timberwolves is because even though me or you might say that Curry is better than Anthony Edwards, the Timberwolves are better than the Warriors.
Very true.
So you
And
need to
yeah,
stop the
that's why we both
Timberwolves,
picked
not
the Wolves
Anthony
right away.
Edwards.
I don't know, man. He's definitely, I'm sorry. I think Anthony Edwards could go out there and win this series. I think he's the guy that can beat the Warriors, and it doesn't matter who these superhero Avengers characters are on the starting lineup. I think Anthony Edwards is really, and I agree with you that the Timberwolves are the better team, and that's why they're giving them the edge. But this might be a hot take and make me look really bad years from now. But I think Anthony Edwards has potential to be the best player all time in this series.
That is a wild take.
That's where we're disagreeing right now. Is that I'm trying to say I think Anthony Edwards is the key to winning this series. Um,
I mean, I agree, but if everybody else only scores 3 points, Anthony Edwards is going to have to go out and score 100 every night, and that's just not possible. So that's my
yeah,
point: is go out and stop
I
everybody
guess.
else.
But
Yes, Anthony Edwards is a killer. If you do this, yes, Anthony Edwards is gonna go off for like 40 or 50 every night. But if the next guy has is 10, then they're only scoring like 80 points, 90 points.
I guess
And
you're
the
right there,
Warriors are
but we
beating
haven't
that.
seen the Warriors. I mean, we haven't seen them score that high a game. They haven't been scoring that high of points in their games this year. So they could end up
It's
being
true.
another very defensive series like we just saw with the Rockets.
Which I highly suspect. I mean, the Timberwolves are very defensive too, so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw low scoring games in the Lakers series as well,
Hmm.
which I also like. I also like a lot of good defense that
Yeah,
we've
I
been
rather
seeing.
the low scoring, like closer to 100 games than the like 130 to 127.
Right. Like who hit their open shot more.
Yeah, literally. It's just shoot around at that point.
But let's hop into a little break and then we can get to that historical series. I think that about rounds up our round one
Did we give a
talk.
prediction for the Thunder Nuggets or did we just say Thunder?
Yeah, we just said Thunder. No, I think we said, well, you said six. I didn't say
I was gonna
anything.
say I'm thinking 6. Yeah, okay. So you didn't say a number. That's why I was like,
No, I have been talking shit about the Nuggets though,
yeah,
so
hard. That's why I was like, is it like a
it
Thunder
sounded
and
like a five
4?
or six
Yeah,
type of thing. Definitely not four. I'm not
it sounded
discrediting the
like a
Nuggets that
4.
hard. Like I know the Nuggets are out there trying to win a championship right now. They're not getting swept, that's for
No,
sure.
and they're a well-built team too.
But but yeah, full disclosure, when I've been looking at this postseason, I think the Thunder are gonna walk to a championship. And because I think that so heavily, I almost forget about it when I have conversations and pretend like that's not going to happen, even though deep down it feels so similar to the Celtics last year, where I'm like, why am I even talking about any series that's not the Thunder? Like, it's definitely going to be the Thunder winning the
I
championship.
hear that.
And
They
that's
do have that
like, that's
mantra about them.
right. That's like the deepest in my heart how I feel about the playoffs, and I just like discredit it so that I can have actual conversations about the
Right,
playoffs.
yeah, because you don't want to feel that way.
But yeah, like we've said, they're the team to beat. Um, they Man, I want them to win too. Like
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
it's
Like yeah, like and that's the weirdest thing I think that you just
yeah,
brought up that I've never heard vocally. But this is the first like number one seed that's almost like they should win it, and I'm not mad about
right.
it. I'm not like fuck.
No.
I'm not like fuck LeBron, fuck Curry, fuck this. No, let's go Shea. Go get yours. Let's
Yeah,
go
get it.
Jalen Williams.
Get
Go
it.
get yours. Let's go Chet. Go get
Bro, I
yours.
want to watch that team in the streets at
I'm
the parade, bro.
saying,
I
dude,
mean,
like shit, man.
uh,
I never thought about that. Like AC, like I even want to see Caruso go out there and get it. Like, dude,
for
yeah,
real.
for real.
Dang.
That's crazy.
Now I'm like dreaming like a fanboy. That's
How
the best
how'd
part
the
about
Thunder do
loving
that?
that.
How'd the Thunder do that to the whole world? They ended up being the best team in the world, completely like on some Warriors 73 and 9 shit and or 72 and 9 shit, and we just don't even
Yeah.
care. We're not mad at them. We're not like,
No,
ah,
no.
fuck the Thunder. We're like, yeah, it's
It's like, let's go
awesome.
get them.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy, especially because of how much we talk about how people hate the winning team. And it's like we've
yeah.
never acknowledged that this whole year the winning team is everyone's best friend.
Yeah, like we love them. We love watching their post-game interviews, like everything about them. They're just so fun.
Yeah, like I would be upset if they lost any hypothetical scenario in the West.
Yeah, for real.
Um, really other than the Warriors, and that's just because I'm such a heavy like Warriors Curry fan. But even then I would be like, huh, I guess it's not their time yet. We're
Right,
gonna go
yeah.
watch another Warriors chip.
Yeah. It's the Thunder's turn to get their payback for all those years that, after
Mm.
KD,
I really
did
wanted
the thing.
A Thunder Clippers matchup. I
That
was
would have
really
been
hoping for that.
nasty.
But
That would have been nasty work. Seeing Shea get his get back
yeah.
on Paul George. Nasty.
But it never happened. All right, let's take a break. All right, we're jumping in after the break. We can't stop ourselves from talking about the Bucks right now and the direction that they're going to be going. So, to start our historical series, we're going to be talking about the Bucks so that we can get that off our chests. Some
Like
of
you
us are having
say,
a great time.
I was
Some
like,
of us are
like
having a great time.
I
Some of us
love.
aren't having as good of a time. Um,
Oh my
and yes, I'm talking about Bango. Bango hates this
He's having
conversation.
a terrible
Bango says he might go in the other room pretty soon.
time.
So,
Oh my god.
were you trying to say something though?
No, dude, nothing.
All right, so the Bucks have been in Milwaukee as long as they've been a team since 1968. They picked up their first championship in 1971 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then he went to the Lakers. Because that's what people do after they win for the Bucks is they're like, you know what, I want to go to a big market now. 50 years later, the Bucks won their second championship. Didn't really do anything in between, despite having some all stars throughout the years. They were never really that team until 2021 when they were that team and they won their second championship with Giannis as the Finals MVP. All right, so
That's the
with
quickest bit of history you probably did on any team in this whole entire thing. And I get it because you are hurting, but damn, bro.
it's like, I mean, what else do I got to say? Um, Honestly, too, at this point, I'm realizing that I have been kind of drawing them out because I feel like there's more to talk about a lot of times than there is.
No,
But
I
there's
hear
really
you though.
not.
There is a really big period in between where they really weren't a whole lot. They really just, like you said, had a lot of all stars. Like they had early Ray Allen, they had Michael Redd there. That was fun for a bit. I know there's
Right.
plenty of guys before our time that we're not going to exactly know names
Yeah,
of that were
I
like
wrote
on
down a
that
bunch of
level.
names and I was like starting to think, I'm like, these guys aren't actually as high historically speaking as I think they are. They
Right.
just are for the Bucks. But
Like
I'm
a
not gonna
Sidney
go through all of them.
Moncrief, right? Yeah, like
Yeah,
he's
Sidney Moncrief was one of them, and
yeah,
like Marquise Johnson.
right.
Um, I follow him on Twitter, bro. He tweets some great stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Vin Baker,
Vin Baker's a
more recent
hooper.
history, got to talk about Middleton. I had to bring up Middleton in this
You have
conversation.
to, yeah.
Because yeah, he's
He will be
truly
looked
was
at
an
as an
all-time Buck.
all-time.
There
Yeah.
was a moment when he was better than Giannis and was the best player on the team, and then Giannis became the best player in the world for a period of time. And Chris Middleton was his number two playoff riser. We've seen it. The Bucks wouldn't have been what they've been the past decade without Chris Middleton.
That might have been the perfect Batman Robin in recent history, honestly. Like
For real.
besides like maybe like a Clay and Curry, because like usually when you see two stars, like two really good guys pairing up, it's almost like two Batmans that just have to share the ball and share time. Like when you see like
True.
LeBron and Luca, those are two
Right.
Batmans. Who the hell's
Yeah,
Robin in that situation?
for real.
Even with Jimmy and Curry. Jimmy says he's Robin, but hell no, Jimmy, you're a fucking Superman
Right.
yourself.
He's just
Like,
respecting Curry, but yeah,
right,
that man, yeah, he's Superman,
right.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, Chris
So
Middleton was truly like a Robin.
he was perfectly fit for
He
it.
had some all-star appearances, had some big moments in his
Oh
career.
my gosh, crazy playoff moment, like game winners. That what was it like? That one when like there was like .6 on the clock or whatever, and he got it off with enough time. Like
Yeah,
everybody
bro,
knows
right
that
in
one.
Duncan Robinson's mouth.
And like, come on now.
That was my screenshot for a while,
I
like a really
remember
long
that.
time. It was just like that Middleton shot, and that's one of those times when I got real in my Heat friends, my friends that are Heat fans. I got real in their face about it, and luckily the Heat aren't as good a situation as like the Bulls or some of the other teams. But one day it's gonna bite me in the butt. Um, oh yeah, that was the break. I was talking, man. I've been a shit talker this whole time the Bucks have been good. I've been a shit talker. I love to bully the little teams that don't do that good and don't win a lot of games. But the times have changed, and all of a sudden, I'm the little team that doesn't win a lot of games. Presumably, that's what we don't know what's gonna happen this offseason, but
We have a pretty decent assumption.
yeah, so it's looking like what we were talking about during the break is it looks like the Bucks are probably going to be the bottom of this division next year. You got the Cavs, you got the Pacers, you got the Bulls, you got the Pistons. All four of those teams have been looking really good and have been on the ups, and that's the opposite of what the Bucks are going through. So we see them at the bottom going forward, and I'm about to get
And that's
bullied for all
also
the
like
shit that I was
especially
talking.
like considering the fact that we think the Bucks are probably looking to move Giannis after this year because Giannis is probably looking to be moved. But if Giannis wants to stay, I mean,
No, yeah. Okay, 2 seconds to say all-time player. It's got to be Giannis.
really, you don't think Kareem has any argument?
I think Kareem has an argument. I think he's the only other person with an argument.
No,
He's the
yeah,
only
it's
other
Giannis
person
though.
with a Finals MVP. So, I mean, thanks for bringing him up though.
No,
But like,
yeah,
yeah, it's Giannis.
it's
It's
Giannis though.
Giannis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a time when Giannis was one of those people where it's like, one day he might be the Bucks all-time player, but it is now for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And I think for the most part, Kareem's viewed as a Laker anyways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, Giannis is a Buck, and we don't know what the rest of his career looks like. So
Right.
that's the Bucks all-time guy. But back to what you were saying, we do we're both under the impression that it's time for the Bucks to part ways with Giannis. And like I always say, I'm with Giannis. So if he wants to leave and he's ready to start a new story, I'm with him with that. I'm definitely gonna follow him and like root for the team that he's on.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt.
I want to say like I can't tell you what it would be like if Giannis was on another team playing the Bucks, just because that's not something I've experienced. So I'm gonna root for the Bucks because they're my team, no matter what. But there are times when I've watched like the Bucks and the Warriors play, the Warriors being my other favorite team, where like I don't really care who wins.
You're just happy.
Um, yeah, like every single shot that goes in, I'm like, nice. And but there's other moments where I've like known for sure that I wanted the Bucks to beat the Warriors. So I feel like it would be similar with the Bucks versus Giannis, where I would be like, there would be times where I'm like just loving Giannis terrorizing the Bucks in this hypothetical. But there'll be other times when I'm loving that the Bucks shut down Giannis.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. And yeah, I really think that's the only option that we have right now. And I think it's better for Giannis because otherwise you're keeping him here to keep building around him. And we have zero assets. We have zero picks. We have terrible contracts that we need to take care of.
Left and
And
right.
Right. And it's really you got to part ways with Giannis or Dame or both of them. And because of this Dame injury now, I don't want to say we're trapped with Dame, but that is the situation. You know,
100%,
it's
yeah.
like there might have been talks about sending Dame somewhere else. Because he came here to win a championship too, you know, he didn't come here to get paid. So we definitely, same with Giannis, we want to put him in the best situation that he can be in. And it's not looking like that's Milwaukee. It's not looking like that Dame Giannis duo is ever going to pan out.
No,
Um, and that story might be over. They might have played their last game together on the same team.
that's what it
So,
seems like, yeah.
and that's probably what's best. The only way that I feel like I would change my mind on this is if Giannis said that he still wanted to play for Milwaukee. Then I'd turn right back around and do the same thing and be like Giannis for Milwaukee forever and ever. But I don't think that's a good decision. You know, if I was his
No,
homie, I would say, hey man, it might be time.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, we talked about destinations already, so that's where that conversation is.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of destinations that he could possibly get traded to. I mean, shoot, he could even get traded to OKC. They got the assets and the trade package for it for sure too. So there's definitely a good couple teams out there that have the assets and have the potential package to give to the Bucks to help them feel like they have at least some
Yeah.
sort of a building block to help their
And that's
rebuild moving
exciting. I
forward.
mean, out of everything, every player in the league, Giannis is gonna bring one of the best packages that can be offered.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I'm
I mean,
excited
he
about
better.
that, you know.
He better.
We're gonna look at something really good. And I'm hoping that I don't even know how I want it to play out, you know? It's
Yeah.
like I want picks first of all, and that's just because we don't have them. Like we really don't. We have two picks,
Yeah, you wasted all of them in your guys' trades that you made recently with
right?
for
And like,
Drew and then for Dame.
yeah, and that's the hole that we've dug ourselves into right now. So that's why I'm so like pick hungry. But if we can get another good player, maybe who's younger or maybe who's the same age, who's not as good, but just like all-star caliber, that would be cool too. Like I won't be mad about that. I don't know how to rebuild a basketball team, so I'm not trying to give the Bucks front office any tips right now. I just, as a Bucks fan, I hope for the best with the package. If Giannis is gonna leave, I hope we get a nice package.
Right.
And I mean, that's what any fan would hope for their
Yeah,
team, you know?
100%.
It's like, if you're sending out your best player, at least give us something good. So enough about the Bucks. Fucking Bucks, bro. All right. All right. So did you want to do Bulls right away then or save that still?
No,
We
yeah,
could
we'll
do
do Bulls. Yeah, heck yeah.
for sure, for sure.
I don't have like the
No,
exact stuff
I
that.
can do the quick stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Do your quick intro.
Same as the Bucks. They've been the Chicago Bulls forever. Chicago Bulls. There was the Chicago Stags. I didn't do much research on them because that was like the 40s.
Yeah.
But that's cool that the Stags existed. A little bit of interesting stuff. 1966 though, is when Chicago got the Bulls. And they've been there ever since. They won three championships, 1991, 1992, 1993, and then they won three championships again 2 years later in 1995, 1996, and 1997, led by six-time Finals MVP Michael Jordan. And that's that guy.
That
If you
is that
don't
guy.
know, the reason that there's a gap in between the three-peats is because Jordan played baseball after his dad passed away because his dad loved baseball. And then I think he loved basketball more, so he came back. Is the short answer of the rest of that story.
Good way to
But
put
this
it.
is Cole's favorite team, so I said if Cole wanted to kind of take the mic right here and say anything special about the Bulls.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna go through a little bit of history, just a little bit of eras and whatnot. I got their basketball reference pulled up, and I just thought it'd be a nice time to mention just a couple good players throughout the years and just a couple notable names, like we kind of did with the Bucks there. So to start off, I feel like the one guy that was like the OG goat of the Bulls, like in like their OG era, you're looking at Artis Gilmore, that big dude down low, big old fro. He was just hanging down there, just yamming. That's the OG goat of it all. And then moving after that, not long after that either, we move into the GOAT, MJ.
That's that guy. I mean,
Drafted in '84. Um, we know MJ. Dude was just a beast. I mean, absolutely tearing it up all the way through the '80s into the
yeah.
'90s, and then just took the '90s by the horns. No pun intended, because of the Bulls, but
No,
and
I mean, if you
full
haven't heard
on
about
road.
Michael Jordan and you don't know what Michael Jordan did, I don't know how you made it this far
Right,
into
that's what I was
this
like. I don't
podcast.
feel like I need to say much about MJ. There's
Like,
so much I could say, but there ain't
we
no
could
reason
definitely
to.
sit here and glaze him for sure.
Right.
Um, what Michael Jordan did in the 90s was the most dominant display in any sport ever.
And
And
also
that's,
what he did for the sport, just in general, of like bringing it, like the market, like he made basketball arguably the most marketable sport at that time. Like in the
yeah,
90s, it was basketball. Like I
for
don't know
sure.
nothing about 90s football like that. I mean, I'm sure I do, but like
No,
I
that's like
know
when you
for
think about,
sure that Michael Jordan played basketball in the 90s.
right,
But
that is
like
like, for me, if I were to paint a mural of the 90s, Michael Jordan's going to be in the center of it.
right,
You
like
know,
he's
he's not just going to be on it, he's going to be right in the center
yeah,
to represent that he was dominating it in the beginning and he was dominating it in the end.
right.
That was his decade through and
Yeah.
through. And yeah, he really made that so that basketball was the number one sport in the world. It
Right.
wasn't even just he made that shit
Yeah,
global.
people
Uh,
loved Michael Jordan everywhere.
yeah, and then the shoes, he started a whole shoe culture. What's a sneakerhead without Michael Jordan, you
No,
know?
for real. Like that's why I'm like the things he did for the sport, like outside of just being really good at the sport, like he like grew the game of basketball in so many ways. Like you said with the sneakers that I wasn't even gonna bring up. Like without him, how many dudes have their own signature sneakers and like this, that, and the other? Like he was the one that kind of brought that kind of flair.
And he
Like guys,
forced it too. They didn't want it like that. They
yeah,
were like, this is kind of, I don't know about all this. And Jordan was
yeah,
like, I'll take the fine.
every
Um,
time, every time. So yeah, goat status with that. Um, we got in the early 2000s. We got Captain Kirk. You got it. You got him. If you're an OG Bulls fan and you know Bulls history, you got to mention Captain Kirk. He's like arguably everybody's like favorite Bull from the early 2000s in that era. I mean, he was just a dog. You got Ben Gordon, who went off for a good couple years, had a couple All Star appearances for us, and was absolutely amazing for us and cool. And we got that young phenom, that young assassin, D Rose.
that's that guy.
Once again, another one that like if you haven't heard of D Rose and whatnot, go do your research because you should know about D Rose at this point. I feel like enough people have glazed in him enough and whatnot, and that you should
No,
know.
and
Youngest MVP to ever win it. Like he was just absolutely fantastic, and it was just sad injuries that ended up taking his career to be shorter.
yeah, man. I mean, that honestly is like the biggest what if in all of basketball for me,
In
you
all of
know?
basketball, yeah.
Like in any sort of like, if you could change this one thing, it's like Derrick Rose not to be injured. Sometimes those are ridiculous though, where it's like Derrick Rose not being injured is the only option that prevents somebody from being injured. And it's like, obviously, I'm going to prevent somebody from being injured over somebody else winning another championship. But, anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know why I got on that little rabbit hole. But that is the biggest what if is what if Derrick Rose didn't get injured? And it really, the biggest testament to it is what other players say again about him. The people that played against him, how they talk about him. They were terrified of Derrick Rose. They knew what he was and what his potential was. Um, and that's just, yeah, that's a whole nother side of the Bulls that we could be talking about way differently right now.
Yeah, for real. And we gotta obviously mention Joakim Noah, just an absolute phenom down low, like the number two to D Rose, and then arguably kind of like took over the team for a little bit there when uh D Rose was getting injured and whatnot. I'm pretty sure there was a year. No, not. I'm pretty sure. I know there was a year. I think he was either third or fourth place in MVP voting for a certain year. I don't know if you knew that, but he was like high up in MVP voting for a certain year because he was just going off like crazy. Of course, Jimmy Butler, like the start of his career, was there, and that was absolutely amazing. Cutting back into it, sorry about that. Uh, we were talking about the Bulls' history. I was talking a little bit about that Jimmy Butler era of the Bulls with the start of Jimmy, having the fun of seeing him turn into an all-star, having some playoff fun with him, and having him have some really fun performances that I remember personally with him. Uh, and then after that, it was a couple real dark years as well. And then we had a little that little stint just recently that I know everybody remembers was Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. That was super fun. I
Number one
mean,
seed for a
yeah, that
second.
was
I
super
mean, that
fun.
was
I almost look at that era though, like you kind of were talking about how you look at right now of the Bucks, where it's like, yeah, that was fun, but like I wanted a lot more from that. So like it was cool, but that's not to like diminish it. It was really fun. I was on top of the world as a Bulls fan when we were number one.
oh, DeMar
Nobody in
DeRozan was an MVP
yeah,
conversation.
nobody in the group chat could tell me shit. Like I was hot every day. I was sending C red with the eyes emoji and the red circle, sending C red every time the Bulls tipped off. Like I was like I was on that shit. Um, and then we know what happened there. There was a big fall off there after Alonzo Ball went down and got hurt, and then we blew it all up. And the blow up seems to be kind of paying off for us actually. We ended up, and the craziest part is it seems like we got the best asset out of the whole blow up from the Caruso trade. We got Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey might be the guy that like really goes out and does some amazing things for us and like really turns up, or at least becomes an amazing asset that we can trade in the future or whatever. But he plays amazing ball with our team right now, and him and Kobe White look really good as an offensive backcourt. I think either one of those guys or both of those guys. I personally think both of those guys, but at least one of them need to step it up a bit more on the defensive end and really become a bit more of a lockdown so we're not so much of a liability in the backcourt. But I think those guys offensively, at least pairing wise, is pretty nice. And that's where we're at right now. I mean, we have a pretty decent little future. I think, but I'm also a Bulls fan, so I could just be completely delusional and thinking that we have a decently bright future. But I also know that we're not like the Thunder right before the Thunder took off or nothing like that. Like we're nothing crazy, but we got a good little foundation built up.
No, yeah, I definitely feel like the Bulls are in a positive direction. And honestly, the direction might take them in is to build around Josh Giddey just because of how good he looked.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Um,
That's kind of where I'm at as a Bulls fan at this point. I know so many people are like back and forth on it because of whatever, but like man, he
yeah, it's a
hoops
tough
for
one for
us.
me.
He hoops for
You
us.
know,
And
but
honestly, I mean,
but keeping it hoops, he definitely is a hooper.
and it's
And
just it is tough though because he's shown stints like this and then done what he did for like the whole start of the year with OKC, or like what he did last year in the playoffs for OKC, where he basically got played off the court because he was so much of a liability. So I'm just hoping that he can take this into next year. And if he shows that this is who he is for a full season for us, yeah, let's build around Giddy because, I mean, he's a facilitating, rebounding, scoring guard. He does everything from the point guard spot. And he's like 6'5", 6'6". He's huge for a point guard.
yeah, he's definitely got size, which I didn't realize at first, just because he kind of looks small.
Yeah, he's a bit lanky.
Um,
He is a bit skinnier. He doesn't have like a beefy body, but he's tall.
yeah, and he's strong.
Yeah.
He push through people,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's kind of like, yeah, that elevates his game in a way where it's like, yeah, this is if you're choosing between him and Kobe White on who to build around, you should take this guy.
Oh, for sure.
Um, that's where the Bulls are. All-time player, probably have to say Bobby Portis.
Really?
Yeah, maybe Robin Lopez.
I was thinking Jerry Sloan. Nah, yeah, we
Uh,
obviously
I was about
trolling.
to walk right there.
Yeah,
Nah, yeah.
it's obviously MJ.
This
There's
is the
no
most
questions about that
obvious
one.
one
Yeah,
out of almost every. I think it is the most obvious
it's
one.
the most obvious
I
one.
like glanced over at the Cavs and I was like, "Ooh, that's pretty obvious too, though." But then I was like, That's arguable though. There's no argument for the
No,
Bulls.
there's no argument for the Bulls. Yeah, because like their
Um,
second best player, at least win shares wise, here on Basketball Reference is Scottie Pippen, and he was always the number two to MJ. So
right,
if their second best player in history, accounting for like longevity of played there, win shares, actual stats of playing there, and all of that, is the number one guy's number two, yeah, there's a big gap
right.
between like all of that. So yeah, I think it's very obvious. And like you said, the most obvious out of the whole entire NBA.
And yeah, I mean, debatably the face of the league all time too. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I never mind. My take is crazy. I got crazy takes. I think the logo should be switched to the jump man.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think so too.
You know what I mean?
Um,
Like that's just basketball.
like no disrespect to Kobe in any ways, but when Kobe passed and people were like, it should be Kobe, I was like, if anyone's changing it, it's gonna be MJ
Yeah,
because one day, I mean, assuming that NBA is gonna outlive Michael Jordan, which I assume it is, Michael Jordan's gonna die, and at that point, if they had switched it to Kobe, then they're gonna want to switch it to MJ, and then when LeBron dies, and then when Joe Smo, who hasn't been born yet, dies, they're gonna want to switch it again. And that's why I was kind of just like what you just said, like
yeah,
they should just make it the most iconic logo they can with the most iconic person from the league ever, um, and just make it Michael Jordan now
yeah.
and keep that.
Because you're not gonna
And
change it to like the
even
LeBron King. Plus, what would you even do for LeBron? He doesn't have like a signature. What, him looking at the ball when he like goes before he takes a three when he's like,
be like,
oh yeah, maybe the chalk toss. The chalk toss is a decent one, but
uh,
like,
that doesn't represent basketball though.
no, that's just like a LeBron
Um,
thing.
but I was just gonna add though, even Jerry West has said like it should be Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
So there you go.
yeah,
There you go, Lakers fans. All right, moving on to the Pistons. Yeah.
yeah.
So the Pistons are the only team in this division with a little bit of unique history because in 1948 they played in the BAA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They're the Fort Wayne Pistons.
Same.
Then they joined the NBA one season later, and then in 1957 they moved to Detroit, and they became the Detroit Pistons that we know and love today.
Oh yeah.
Most notable for their 89 and 90 back-to-back championships by the Bad Boys Pistons.
Bad boys.
Um, and then another 2004 championship with Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace.
The like
Um,
rebirth of the Bad Boys Pistons.
right. And this is like the another rebirth of the Bad Boys Pistons. The Pistons right now.
You've
And that's
almost
something,
seen that, like, yeah, their best teams throughout history have always been just this
right.
gritty, grindy, like, almost getting into like tussles here and there. Like, they
It's
got
Motor
that, like,
City, man.
yeah,
You know? And I like that for the Pistons. Uh, that that's cool to have like the continuity of the same personality across history with your team, you
yeah,
know. That's how you build a really good fan base, first of all. And in the end, that's going to be what wins them a championship is that sort of camaraderie and being the bad boy Pistons type of team, you
yeah,
know.
for sure.
And yeah, Cade just we talked about how we're happy that he didn't get most improved player of the year, but it's still awesome to see him take that step this year and lead the team.
Oh yeah,
We're not
like
trying to undermine
he
that.
definitely like
It's
could have won it, but it's just a number one pick
he's
should
entered
have.
his prime, which is
Yeah,
what happened.
yeah.
And we can acknowledge that for sure. Is that he definitely has entered his prime. And man, I couldn't be happier about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah, Cade's been one of my favorite players to watch, like get drafted and progress. To where I've been excited the whole time, and now like seeing him in full, it's like what you expected. And that doesn't always happen. So talking about an all-time player though,
it's a tough one.
it really is. I feel like there's a lot of directions you could go.
I feel like you have to go IT,
That's what I'm thinking. The
right?
thing is, I think that it is like a yes on there. Like that's what feels right.
Because
Um,
like he has the most chips. He was the number one guy for those years.
that's the thing though, is that he was the number one guy, but they were such a team. you know?
Yeah, like Joe
Like
Dumars really was like such a
that's
good
why
vital
it's
piece to that team.
like it's almost like yeah, you want to give it to Isaiah Thomas, but you don't want to discredit anybody that immediately, you know?
And
You
that's
almost want to talk about a lot of people.
and that's also like the same thing with that 2004 Pistons team with like Chauncey Billups, you got Ben Wallace, you got Rip Hamilton. Like that was a
Did Ben
crazy
Wallace win
team.
Finals MVP?
No, Chauncey won Finals MVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is something that I found two different answers for, and I was very confused.
Yeah.
Um, but
Big shot Billups.
but yeah, we'll stick with Isaiah Thomas going forward. We talked about the Pistons a lot today. Just, keep it up. They
Yeah.
might be a team um that could look for another guy, but honestly, I don't think they need another guy. I think Jalen Duren is underrated. He's just young.
And Asar Thompson. The Thompson brothers are crazy. Amin over in
No, for
Houston,
real.
Asar over in Detroit, crazy. They are both freak athletes, offensively, defensively. They can hit a shot, they can yam it over anyone in the league. And I mean anybody, because they got,
Right.
like, that's what I mean when I say they are freak athletes. Like, they probably have the best verts in the league. Like, I feel like every time they jump and they're like full extending for those like blocks when guys are like double smacking the backboard, like, those guys look freaky, those twins.
Oh
And
yeah, there's only two other players in the league that you can compare to their dunking.
yeah, for
Um,
real. Like,
which would be John Moran and Anthony
I was gonna
Edwards,
say,
which is
yeah,
like
it's like the obvious, yeah.
those are the people I think of watching them dunk, specifically Ant. Like they have such like an
Hmm.
ant motion with it.
For real. Yeah, it's a really good comparison, the Ant one.
Man, I'm excited about the future of this league, man.
For real. We got
I
some
really am.
great young players. Like, I can't wait to see who takes that next phase
Um,
for real.
and yeah, I know Pistons fans want to go in the direction of getting another person to play alongside Cade, but I think that's Jalen Duren. That's my opinion.
No, yeah,
I
I think
think
the team
Jalen
they
Duren
have
is
is
gonna
set.
be that guy. He's just not there yet. And that's okay. He's very young. I think he's either 20 or 21, because he was 20 the last time I looked.
And they have role players that are completely bought into like being there. Malik Beasley
Hmm.
loves being in
Loves it there.
Detroit and he bangs in Detroit. Like he is doing crazy stuff in Detroit.
Yeah.
Isaiah Stewart, he's not playing exactly up to his contract. He's more of a role player, not exactly what they expected, but he is loving it in Detroit. It seems he loves being part of that Bad Boys Pistons culture and keeping that going, and being a part of that team like that, and just bringing that defensive, hard nosed, gritty vibe to it. Like those role players around there love that team. It seems.
Yeah, it's just one of those teams where it seems like the environment's really good. You got a lot of good young players, and it won't be long until these are the teams that we're talking about in our Final Four contention type stuff.
Not for real though. I can't wait to see the Pistons in some late playoff basketball
For
because
real.
they are such a fun team.
All right, moving up, the Pacers. And we've talked about the Pacers today, of course. Now I got to talk about it
Yeah,
again.
this is an
Really,
interesting two-team conversation because these
I
next two
really
teams that
did
we're
myself
talking
in.
about are facing each other right now.
Yeah, I noticed that. I almost was like before the pod, I was like, should we somehow like hybrid these segments?
Yeah,
But
right.
it just didn't seem doable. But yeah, the Pacers. So they're the team that beat the Bucks, in case you didn't know. They started in 1967, and they've been the Indiana Pacers the same time, just like the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, they won three out of their first 6 seasons. They won the championship in four appearances in those 6 seasons. And then they actually appeared 5 times in the first 7 seasons, but three in the first 7 seasons doesn't sound good as five in the first or three in the first 6 seasons. So that I actually didn't know that. I didn't know the Pacers ever won a championship. So I was kind of shocked to like look into this and be like, dang, the Pacers actually were like good right when they entered the league.
Is that like Jack Sigma?
I don't even have any names written down.
No?
I was just
You keep
like
talking and I'll do
shook
some history on that.
for sure. But then I'd say the most notable Pacers era is, and we touched on this earlier, is the Reggie Miller era in the 90s, when Jordan was dominating the league. Larry Bird was their coach. Larry Bird's from Indiana, if you don't know. So I always thought that was cool. Cool little. I would want to go home to coach the Bucks per se if I was a coach. Like that'd be cool for me. So, but they didn't pick anything up because Jordan was dominating the league. But that era is debatably the best era, making Reggie Miller debatably the best player there. I think the other good era where the Pacers were conference finals was the Paul George era, like a decade ago, um, where depending on who you are, you could argue Paul George for all time. But I don't think either of us are doing that today.
No.
So, but got to mention all the guys. And then, of course, there's the Tyrese Halliburton era today, and they look really nice. That's why we were saying this might be the best looking team they've had. Because even in the Reggie Miller era, this is a deep Pacers team right now, like 7, 8 deep almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just very well constructed. I don't know
You want to take a guess who on the Pacers right now is eighth all time in win shares?
who on the Pacers right now is eighth all time in win shares.
Yeah, who on the Pacers right now is considered to be the eighth best Pacer all time, according to Basketball Reference?
So, can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anybody on the roster right now that's above them?
No, they're the best. They're the best. Yeah, no.
Miles Turner.
Yeah.
That's that Pacers guy, man.
He's been there for a minute. I didn't know if you'd
He has
remember it,
been.
but no, you be knowing about Miles Turner. You know ball
I
like that.
yeah, I'm a pretty decent Miles Turner fan. I can't say that I didn't appreciate what he did to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Because he looked nice out there. Now they're talking Miles Turner to the Lakers, but they're also talking everybody with the letter C next to their name to the Lakers.
Yeah,
So
everybody that's a
that's
center for real.
but yeah, all time, I think we already said in the first part, we're going Reggie Miller with
Yeah, it's
that.
got to be
But,
Reggie.
Tyrese Halliburton goes out there and wins a finals MVP with this team.
But yeah, big shout out
Uh,
to guys like Rick Smits. That's who I was thinking of, not Jack Sigma. I think Sigma was a Supersonics guy. But the guys that were winning the chips back in the days, it was Mel Daniels and Roger Brown. Um, and you got like guys like Danny Granger who were good throughout the years in like the earlier 2000s. Jermaine O'Neal who was really good. Other than that, I mean George McGinnis was another guy that was playing way back when they were winning those finals. But other than that, yeah, I mean it's Reggie Miller.
yeah, also basketball was born in Indiana. If you didn't know. That's why Indiana's so important to basketball. I don't want to talk the Pacers anymore. I'm mad at the Pacers still.
Move to the Cavs. Let's
Moving to the Cavs.
get you happier again.
Go, let's get him.
Let's
Oh,
get it.
not only are the Cavs gonna have the chance to beat the Pacers, they also got the GOAT as their all-time player, LeBron James.
LeBron.
Oh yeah, so you don't have to ask us where we are in that debate, but um, yeah, the Cavs, like pretty much every other team in this division, they've been in Cleveland. They've been the Cavaliers for the entire history, since 1970 to the present, and they have had one championship in 2016, uh, which is when LeBron James won his Finals MVP. And that's that guy. He went to the finals 5 times with the Cavs. Um, and that's all their finals appearances in history. When
Yeah.
he had gone to the Heat for a couple years before he came back, the Cavs had the opportunity to basically tank, but unintentionally, and draft Kyrie. So the Cavs had that Kyrie and LeBron versus Curry and the Warriors, Curry and Clay, Curry and KD, however you want to put it. That was that whole era. So that's where a lot of those finals appearances ended by Curry and the Warriors, best team of all time. Man, crazy that you have to talk about how the Warriors are the best team of all time to like talk about the Cavs properly. But That's
Yeah,
just how bad.
because
That's really how bad they did them.
no, yeah, for real. And I mean, that's just the team that they beat in the finals too. They beat the arguably
That's
best
true.
team like ever.
That is another way to look at it. Um, and yeah, that was our rivalry, our generation's rivalry. So that's what I think about personally when I think about the Cavs. But the new look Cavs, they might be starting a new trend, you know?
Oh
They
yeah, I
might make
definitely
us
think they
think,
figured something out.
maybe we'll be talking about how LeBron was just part of the Cavs and we'll be debating in a couple years. But Donovan Mitchell has been he got traded from the Jazz.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah, that's where he was his whole career until Cleveland.
So what do we think for the Cavs? I mean, it's hard to talk about what to do going forward because
I feel like
they
theirs is
have,
another like really obvious one, like a OKC and whatnot. It's like
yeah,
just
like
keep doing
go
what you're doing. I
win a
mean,
championship,
yeah,
man. Like go win that game tomorrow night.
yeah.
And there's not really much else to say.
And if you guys lose this series, well, just go stay pat. Because honestly, I mean, I think the team is perfect as is. I mean, obviously, no team is perfect, but this is about as close to perfect as you can get. I mean,
Right.
they're looking just like the Thunder, where it kind of looked like they should be the team that just walks their way to the finals, but they lost last night. So, well, 2 nights ago if you're watching this, but last night for us. So,
Right. And yeah, I don't have much else to say about the Cavs. I mean, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, this team right now. That's really it, you know?
yeah, I
Um,
mean, there was the fun team of Mark Price and Brad Daugherty, Brad Daugherty back in like the, I think it was like the 90s, because I know it's so funny. Their most memorable moment is MJ hitting a game winner over them when MJ was
mm,
young and like starting his like
yeah, you got to try
crazy
like
tear.
extra hard to learn about the 90s besides MJ,
You
you know?
really do, yeah. So
Like,
like knowing about Mark Price and Brad Daugherty, those are guys that like honestly were really good, but especially because they were in the East, yeah, they were covered up by MJ completely because
mhm,
they didn't make it even to the finals or far in the playoffs because they just got cooked. And they were in the same division as the Bulls, so they were always just below them,
yeah.
getting cooked
Yeah, all these
throughout the
teams, I'm
year
like looking at their history and I'm like, dang, they were pretty quiet in the 90s, almost like their division was being dominated by somebody.
by someone else.
I wonder who won the division those years that he wasn't there. Probably the Pistons.
Um, I know that Scotty did really well those years
That's true. That's right. The Bulls
himself.
weren't bad. The Bulls, they didn't win the division though. Well, they could have won the division. They didn't win the conference, is what I meant to say. Would it be 93, 94, 94, 95? I don't know what seed they were in 95, but I know they came from the bottom of the bracket.
93, 94, they were second in the division, and then 94, 95, they were third in the division. I can't figure out who was first off of like real quick grab, but I
Okay.
know they didn't win the division at least both years.
I guess I shouldn't even assume it was the Pistons because, like, we're just talking about the Cavs being good as well as we talked about the Pacers being good. The only thing we can guarantee is that it wasn't the
Oh, it
Bucks.
was probably the Pacers, man.
Yeah,
Reggie Miller was in that era. He
for
was
sure.
probably
Yeah, I
taking
mean
that.
um, that's when he did everything was that whole decade. You
Right.
know,
So I'm assuming that's what it was.
dang,
That's the historical
that's it.
series,
That's
man.
that's all 30
We talked
teams.
about every damn team, their history,
Yeah,
their
that's kind of crazy.
players, what we want for them to do going forward, what we think they should do going forward, who we think their best player in history is. Love that.
Yeah, and we didn't really debate today. We kind of agreed on every player, but not only were they weren't debatable, but there's only two of us. So
Yeah,
we didn't
that's
want,
true.
there's not much debate about it.
Yeah.
But I remember I'd be thinking I'd be just like doing a normal day and I'll think back to the day when we talked about the Heat. Um, and I remember you were like, we're all on the same page here about who the all-time Heat player is. And all three of us were like, he's gonna say LeBron.
That
Uh,
was good.
I respect it though.
Hey man, opinion's an opinion. That's why we here, you know.
But that's it. Yeah. So that's our podcast for this week.
Hell yeah.
Um,
We love you
Going
guys
forward, I mean, there's
so
games going on
much.
right now we got to get updated on, but
Yeah, literally right now.
we're
So,
going to be talking about playoffs till the season's over. We're going to be talking about WNBA in the summer. Any kind of basketball that we can find to get into, we're going to be getting into that. So if you got any suggestions on any sort of like our historical series or any sort of things you might think it'd be cool for us to do, we'll read the comments and maybe check that out for sure.
hell yeah. We love you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. It helps out so much pushing us in the algorithm. We love you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.